Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. All week we have watched our leaders hyperventilate about the threat other countries pose to our democracy. Foreign nationals seek to influence our election, they have told us again and again ominously. And by the way, they're right. Some countries do that. It's a fair point. But with that in mind, it was a little bit surreal to watch today as Democratic politicians in California encouraged foreign nationals to actually vote in our elections. It wasn't treason, they explained. How could it be? Progressives are doing it. It's a form of civil rights. In San Francisco, citizens of other countries, including illegal aliens, are now allowed to vote for school board. Other offices will not be far behind. You can be sure of that. San Francisco is the biggest city to try this, but the trend is spreading nationwide. In a number of cities in the state of Maryland, for example, foreign citizens can vote in all local elections. There's a push underway in New York City and in Boston to allow the same thing. Again, none of this is treasonous. It's not a hacking of our democracy. It's nothing Putin or Donald Trump would do. It is, New York City Councilman Jumaane Williams recently explained to us, quote, actually a restoration of rights. Non-citizens have been voting in this country longer than they haven't, end quote. Now, we're not going to pretend to understand exactly what that means. We have no idea what it means. We do know that the left no longer even pretends to believe in borders or in citizenship. They've rejected the notion that America is even a country. It's an idea, they tell us again and again, though really you get the sense they think it's more like a division of Amazon, staffed by faceless replaceable drones, meaning you, for now, and then your foreign replacement if you don't work eagerly enough or if you complain. Keep in mind, none of this is a threat to our democracy. It's the essence of democracy, somehow. Ian Samuel is a lecturer at Harvard Law School. Maybe he can explain. He joins us now. Ian, thanks for coming on. So,
hey, thanks. Glad to be back.
The reason that people are upset that Russia hacked our democracy, attempted to interfere in our elections, and I think they have a right to be upset about that, is that Russians aren't Americans. They're not citizens. And only citizens have the right to influence a democracy. That's what citizenship is. It's the right to do that, to self-govern. So with that in mind, why are the same people who are upset about Russia doing this encouraging other foreign nationals to vote?
Well, I think the reason is that it's not that people are upset that Russia is interfering with American elections because those people aren't citizens. It's because they're hostile to the United States. And long-term residents of the United States aren't in the same position. And as you quoted sort of at the top, voting by non-citizens is quite common, actually. It had persisted in the United States until the early part of the 20th century.
Okay, wait, before we get to the history
part, I don't
part,
think it's the same thing at all.
Okay, it's not the same thing. So in other words, it's a matter of intent. So anyone who meets your definition of being not hostile to the United States, as defined, I assume, by you or other Harvard law professors, gets to vote. So in other words, if Putin were to say, I'm not hostile to the United States, I actually like Donald Trump, I think he said that on stage on Monday, then that would give him the right to influence our elections, by your standard.
Well, the traditional test up until, I think, Arkansas was the last state to eliminate non-citizen voting in 1926. The traditional test was residency, permanent residency. And so, when Abe Lincoln was elected on the backs of lots of non-citizen voters in Illinois, which was true in the 1860 election, I don't think there was something illegitimate about that.
Well, we actually can't be, wait, hold on. We actually can't be sure what was true from the 1860 election because we didn't have the capacity to survey it in the way we do now. So what's your engaging in this
but we know what the law was.
We actually
we
don't
know that Illinois
really
allowed non-citizens to vote.
But we don't know what
we
percentage of them voted for Lincoln. Okay, we don't know that. And I don't work at Harvard,
but
I know that we don't know that. So we're not going to pretend we know that. But let's move to the present from the past here. Let's skip ahead, 140 years if we could, and ask.
I'm an originalist. I like the past. What can I say?
Right. So, but why would it be wrong for Putin, if his intent was pure, to influence our election by the standard that you just laid out? And this is a sincere question, because I don't understand how you could be mad about Russian meddling and then you're encouraging non-citizens to choose office holders.
Well, I think if Vladimir Putin wanted to leave Russia and become a permanent resident of the United States, I would encourage him to vote.
But there's no such
vote the other way.
There's no such thing as permanent residency for an illegal alien. He has no residency. And illegal aliens...
Well, that's just historically, that's not right.
No, well, I'm not talking about historically. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I'm talking about 2018, let's say mid-July 2018. How about today? And Illegal aliens are now allowed to vote in San Francisco. There's no permanent residency by definition. They're not residents. They're here legally, and they're allowed to vote. Why is that okay, but Putin influencing election not okay? Why is that not treason and hacking our democracy?
Well, I don't know how else, I don't know how better to put this. Like, look, as I said, I am an originalist. I believe that the central government should not be involved in telling states who can and cannot vote. The Constitution doesn't assign that responsibility.
Would you be okay with Would you be okay with California saying anybody from Russia, any Russian intelligence agent who wants to influence our election, go ahead?
Well, I think I would not, but I would not on the merits, right? Of course I wouldn't on the merits, because I would draw the line differently. I would draw the line at residents, people who live in a place and intend to remain. A very common concept in our law.
But let's just be, as a matter of fact, since this is a news show, be clear on what California is requiring. There's no measure or test for residency. They're not saying you have to intend to stay in San Francisco before voting, or prove residency in San Francisco, or even be here legally. So what you're saying is irrelevant to the actual facts of this.
It's true that they may have decided as a practical matter to draw the line a little more over-inclusive, but I would note that everybody who lives in San Francisco for whatever period is subject to the laws there, and so it's not actually crazy to suggest that they should have some input onto what those laws are going to be. And again, that's historically normal.
So we just had a Russian intelligence agent arrested yesterday. She's now in jail without bail. Her crime, as described by the federal government, is trying to influence America without registering under the Foreign Agent Registration Act. What did she do wrong? She was a long-term resident of this country. She was involved in a romantic relationship with an American. She spoke English. She had a vested interest in this country, and yet she's in jail without bail. Would you defend her?
Well, I think that there's a great deal of difference between a person who is an actual spy versus a person who believes that this is where they live.
No one's alleging she's a spy. Stop. No, wait, hold on.
Sure.
No one's alleging she's a spy. She's not accused of stealing anything, of spying on anybody. She's accused, I read the indictment, and you should too. Okay. She's accused merely of trying to influence this country without registering. So what did she do wrong, and why aren't you leaping to her defense? Oh, because she's not voting Democrat.
No,
that's why, isn't it?
I think for as far as I know, she might. I have no idea. But what she did wrong is she violated an actual federal statute that prohibits, and perhaps that statute is unwise. But what is true is that the Constitution assigns to each state the decision to decide who is going to vote in that state's elections.
But beneath the statute is a principle, and you've changed the principle like 4 times. First you said they have to like the United States, but then you said, no, not really. Then you said they have to have lived here for a long time. No, not really. And now you're saying what? If you violate a law, so I'm sure you're for enforcing all federal immigration law. But you're not.
I am comfortable with the idea that anybody who is subject to the laws of the United States and resides here in the ordinary sense should have an input into the political process. And so in that sense,
well, then I hope you'll raise money for this woman's legal defense, because it sounds like by your standards she got railroaded. So,
I mean, I'll do it for free.
Free the Russian agent.
I have.
No, you won't. All right, Ian, thank you.
We'll
Good
see.
to see you.
Thanks a lot.